Okay, this meeting is being recorded, so for God's sake, be gentle, everyone. Okay, even I'll try to be. So we come to the last part. Okay. Mm, do you remember the term, colonized intellectual? Anyone? Anyone remember the term colonized intellectual? Yes,
Yes,
Darshana.
sir.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me. You can refer to the notes which I had shared last week.
So basically, fighting people who fight for recognition of a national culture.
Yeah, yeah. So they are then, yeah, they have taken, it's a responsibility. They think they have the responsibility to build a national culture. Okay. And there is this concept of double consciousness. So what is this double consciousness? It refers to the, the colonized intellectuals who are forced to see themselves in relation to the colonizer. If you look carefully, this doubly, this, colonized intellectuals are no different from the colonizer because they are thinking in the language of the colonizer and they are thinking in a land, in a place which is occupied by the colonizer. And if they want to define themselves, the only option to define themselves is in relation with the colonizer because there is no individuality as of now. And they're fighting for this kind of individuality. And the problem is, since they don't have a politically independent nation, they are unable to define themselves. You're getting it? What I'm trying to say? So,
But then,
yeah, yeah. Tell me.
for how long do they identify or do they look at themselves through the eyes of the colonizers?
Until and unless they are politically decolonized.
Okay.
Okay. So that's a continuous process, and that is why they need a self-determined space in order to deconstruct, the colonial hierarchy. For example, yesterday or day before yesterday, there was this news that the Indian Navy, in the ranks in the Indian Navy, they are going to be renamed according to some native culture or native tradition. That's how you deconstruct, the colonial hierarchy because this colonel, lieutenant, these are all foreign terms used in foreign military. If you look very carefully, getting it?
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. Uh, Now, oh, so that was, the concept of national culture in toto, or what should I say, in brief. That was double consciousness, that was colonized individual, and I also referred to, three things, the three stages of, this colonized intellectual, how to become a colonized intellectual, or rather becoming a colonized intellectual, how you fight for the national culture. That is, if first they have to adopt and adapt, the hybridity of different kind of cultures. Yeah, there is no different culture, there is only one culture, that is white culture, because their culture is not yet born or not yet developed. Or there is an option of going back to pre-colonial culture, which is not possible because you cannot connect to it. And lastly, by producing art, literature, combat literature, revolutionary, national culture. So these were the stages. Now Fanon focuses on, how an intellectual can, develop this particular national culture in a practical mode. He's a very practical person. He just don't say go back to your the pre-colonial time or something like that and build your culture from scratch. So basically, if we take in consideration of the Indian history, so the, British, this East India Company, they gained after the Battle of Plassey, 1757. From 1757 to 1847, almost 190 years, they were in charge of India, or the Bharat. So Francois is not saying go back to the culture which was before 1750s. Rather, he says try to live in the present, and he is practical over there because the people who are there 200 years ago are not present in this scenario. The struggle they had, we cannot connect with that struggle. Our struggle is our mobile phone is not getting ample charge, and our previous generation struggle was what is this smartphone? We don't know. We will use this BlackBerry QWERTY keypad. Are you getting it? What I'm trying to say, Devanshi slept.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yes,
Darshana is
yes.
alive. Okay, cool, cool. Okay, now he comes to that. If you have you heard about Angugiwo Thiongo? Anyone? Angugiwo Thiongo?
Yes, sir.
क्या बात है क्या बात है so
सर आपने मेंशन किया था
okay क्या बात
ओरिएंटलिज्म के
so yeah tell me Darshana tell me
related to post-colonialism and like I just have a hang about it, but it's basically related to क्या बोलते हैं how the colonized people perceive from the perspective of the colonizers. I
at
think
least you were there at least you were there not on the exact track but yeah you are nearby you आप भटक रहे हो आसपास but yeah okay just भटकना is cool so basically Angugiwo Thiongo wrote this essay non-fiction decolonizing the mind where he speaks that where he says rather says that in order to counter the culture of the colonizer, you cannot write in their language. You cannot write in English. And after writing this essay, he never ever tried anything in English. He went back to his native language. So basically, if I am revolting or I am try to decolonize myself, मैं क्या कैसे बताऊं तुम्हें मैं अंग्रेजी में बात नहीं कर सकता क्योंकि ये भाषा मेरा नहीं है किसी और का है am I are you getting there what I'm trying to say
Yes.
and in that context I need to speak in Bangla because uh, আমার ভাষা বাংলা that's it why should I adopt to Hindi language even that is one kind of colonization okay let's keep apart this Indian language stuff let's go back what Franz Fanon says in Wretched of the Earth. Now, there he speaks about the crucial role of the language, and this role of language is linked to Angogiwo Thiongo decolonizing the mind. So that's how you write an essay and give an example. You cross reference in while writing a paper in literature whatever suppose okay whatever this great philosopher not psychiatrist Franz Fanon has said and I am teaching you in the class while writing a paper you need to refer to other examples to the poems to the novels so that you can connect with them that's how you get good marks okay okay so we come to that he says that language plays an essential part and the language used by the colonizer, sorry, the colonized intellectual is basically the language of the oppressor because the government is using a language. Which government? The colonized government. The colonized government is using a language, their language, and he was studying not in your mother tongue or something like that. He was studying in English. If you read to Macaulay's Ministry of Education in Indian context, so in order to wipe out the culture, you need to wipe out the language. But there are people who are born after political colonization obviously they don't know their own language and this kind of people they are becoming the colonized intellectual and they are using the language of the colonized colonizers and that's what it says the language used by the colonized intellectual is the language of the oppressor while building a national culture. So when a person of in this context, the French people, Algerian people, when these African people are writing something, as a national literature, as a comeback literature, in order to protest against the French people, but in order French people, they are writing this thing in French. This Wretched of the Earth, actually, it is written in French language, which has been translated later on in English. Anybody has got any idea what is the title of this actual title of the Wretched of the Earth? Anyone? It is actually a French book. Yes. Anyone?
Uh, I had read the fact that this was originally written in French,
Okay.
and now I don't remember the original translated version of the name, but I do remember this.
Okay. Okay. And any idea who has translated this thing? Okay, the name of the guy is Constance Farrington. There are times we don't give enough credit to the translator. People say things are lost in translation. Actually, things get added in translation too. So you gain a lots of things in translation. Okay, and so whenever the colonizer think of another culture, they think as them as the the exotic other. I refer to that in while teaching in Orientalism by that great guy. What was the name of the guy? Edward Said. So if a person from the colonized country is thinking in a language or writing in a language, or they've studied the language of the colonizer, they will term their national culture as an exotic one. Thus, there is a gap about your actual thinking and what you are actually producing. After coming from language, he moves away to this thing known as visual art. Now, what is this visual art? Obviously, the painting and all those stuff. Uh, okay, okay, and yeah. So while creating some kind of painting, some kind of sculpture or something like that, they refer, means this colonized intellectual, they refer to the model which is already there. Now try and understand and try to remember the paintings, the actual Aboriginal literature, the literature, sometimes and the most of the times, they are destroyed by the colonizers so that it is wiped out from the memory. Okay, so there were many instances. For example, Shaniwar Wada, the famous structure in Pune. There were many palaces. Those were actually demolished by the power which came after that in order to what should I say, in order to create a gap in their memory. Yeah, this kind of structure. Okay, there is renaming of Indian cities. Are you getting it nowadays?
Yes.
Yeah, so there was actually no Bombay. So there was a village near Warsaw where the temple of Mumba Devi was there, and the name came Mumbai. But the Britishers, they were unable to pronounce or something like that. But there are geographical instances because this portion of Maharashtra is a bay, not BAE, huh? Salt Bay or something, Bay of Bengal or something like that. And the name came Bombay, and the name came Calcutta or something like that. But actual name is Mumbai. Now, when the political decolonization happened, the people of this land, people of our land, obviously, uh, they went back to Mumbai. So that's how you, because when you are in power, you try to wipe out the power structure, the temples, the mosque, whatever it is, any kind of palace, any kind of fort from the memory of the living people. That's how you colonize people in their mind, in their memory, in their culture. Okay, and that's the same thing with the visual art. And when it is wiped out, the people who are born after this, demolition of the structure was like, what is Bombay? We know Mumbai. And suppose some, and I guess after some, what? Okay, Prague was named. Actual name was Prague. It was named as Allahabad. First of all, it was named as Allahabad. Then it became Allahabad, and nowadays it again went back to Prayagraj. So, are you understanding the game of power? I hope so. You are getting it. You can always refer to the the recent things which are happening in and around your society or something like that. So basically, now Franz Fanon goes back to visual art. Tonized creator. He says that you need to create your own struggle through your paintings or something like that. And apart from visual art and language, he goes back to poetry. He says the poet are unable to connect to the past because they are not a part of the past. They are not living in the past. Rather, they should connect the new happenings, the new stuff which is happening in this particular society or something like that. Are you getting it what I'm trying to say? So first is visual art, then is language, then is poetry. And the most important thing, he's a very practical person. In order to get a national culture, You need decolonization. So he's asking this, you know, intellectual people, try to be a part of the national liberation movement. Intellectual must be a part of national struggle, he says. Needs to be a part of muscle power. They need to be, it's not about, always fighting or, taking a spear, taking a bullet, but you need some kind of organized protest or something like that in order to get this political decolonization. And he makes sure you should not, you need not go back to their past in order to prove that our culture, the national culture, exists. He's not saying don't forget the past. He's not saying just forget the past or something. He rather says whatever struggle you are facing, that is national culture. And he also, emphasizes on the fact that national culture is not only, what should I say? Okay, let me switch on the this thing. Yeah, let me switch on the camera, because in the last lecture no one switched the camera. I was like, what the hell? I am talking to myself. It was very, but ठीक है, चलता है. Who cares? Not visible. Okay. Now what happens? Camera on हो जाए भाई. Okay. So basically, this national culture, he says, is not a, it's not just mere, juxtaposition of some kind of words, poetry, folk tales, mythology, or something like that, but rather it's collective thought, a collective thought to get rid of the oppression, to get rid of the political colonization. So he defines basically this national culture as the national struggle, and he goes he goes a bit deeper. He says that this struggle is not the ultimate national culture. I am what should I say? I'm contradicting my own views. Over, sorry, not my own views. Franz Fanon, what Franz Fanon has says, it is ultimately not the struggle, but it's the struggle towards equality. It's the struggle to break away from the, the shackles of inferiority. What is the shackles of inferiority means? There is a master, there is a slave. In this recent net, there was a question that white, black, colonizer, colonized, and the binary of master and the slave. So if there's a colonizer, there's colonized. If there's a lord, there's a slave. If there's a master, there's a slave. You need to break this particular shackle. And what happens when you gain some kind of liberation? What's next? That's why I said Franz Fanon is a very practical communist, practical Marxist, because they raises questions. Uh, if you read Marxism, there raises questions. Whatever bad things, exploitations are going on in the society, and that should be the way of life. That should be the way of critical thinking. But what about the solution? But he is one of the very few, what should I say, communist thinker who comes up with a solution. He says you get national liberation, you get liberation from the oppressor, from the colonized. Your next aim is gaining equality on the, what should I say, global stage. The kind of international solidarity. Okay, I hope I'm not going too fast. Am I going too fast?
No, no.
I had
No.
a question.
Yes, Darshana, tell me.
So if that is the case, then the colonized intellectuals are not are not the part of the history, and therefore they cannot really define a
I didn't
natural
know. So they are not part of. They are not part of.
part of the history, right? So
No,
they
no, they are. See, how would you define history? The question rises.
so in that case the entire what the entire concept will be
No,
like.
no, they are not. See, Fanon is not saying, don't be a part of history or something like. They are saying don't cling to the history and don't say on the basis of history we need to make our culture. They are saying whatever struggle you are going through, the unified bond between all kind of people, all kind of oppressed people, against the consciousness of the bond, against the colonial hierarchy. That is national culture.
So, but if we don't know our history, then how will we define our own culture?
No, no, they are not saying you don't know, don't need to know the history. They are saying don't cling to it. History, okay. So these are the colonized intellectual. Sorry, this is not a middle finger. Please don't mind. These are not the colonized intellectual. These are the colonized intellectual. These are colonizer, and these are. This is the situation before political decolonization. They are saying you learn from there, but you cannot build everything on history because you are not living in the history. Getting it? Our I just gave you the example of smartphone and BlackBerry phone. You cannot build technology on BlackBerry phone, but you have to learn from BlackBerry phone. Where did BlackBerry went wrong? Where did Nokia went wrong? But you have to come in order to make your own mark. You have to compete, or you have to learn the market statistics of what Samsung S series is doing, what Apple is doing, what OnePlus is doing. Are you getting it? What I'm trying to say? You cannot cling to the past. That's it. Obviously, you know your history. Obviously, you need to know your history.
I
He's
think
saying that
Knowing
your yeah,
history
yeah.
doesn't mean you follow your own culture, right? Knowing is different and practicing
No, 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 no. See,
is
your
different.
culture was there when the colonizers was not there. The moment colonizers comes, your culture changes. That's the acceptance. Adapt.
Then
I
why are
think
we
what happened here was we before being colonized, we were and we are still very much rich with history. India has the longest history that can ever be noticed or
And
observed.
okay, now the question arises: who documented our national history? Who was the first person to document our national history?
I'll have to search that.
Yuan Sang. He was a foreigner.
Oh,
many
He's the
of
but
first
then
person to document.
is it through the eyes of the colonizer?
No, he was not a colonizer, but a traveler, a foreign traveler. If you look carefully,
Hmm.
so, but my question remains same as like if okay, I forgot the question.
yeah, yeah. Tell me, Darshana. Tell me. No issue.
No, like okay, if you are accepting what it is, okay, after colonization, you are accepting what it is, okay, the cultural change or whatever. So if you are
Wait,
really
we are not accepting. We are not accepting. But we need to understand we're going through a process of change.
right, so we acknowledge that change, right?
Yes,
In
yes.
the so like while acknowledging that change, we either like be with it and we do not really try to change the culture or go back to what our original culture was, right?
How can you go back to your original culture? Because you are not the same. You have gone through. You cannot go back to original culture. Okay, once you meet. How am I supposed to define? Once you go through a process, you are not the same person. When the country goes through the same process of colonization, the country doesn't remain same, right?
Yes.
So before the foreigner attacked a particular land, they were docile people, they were subtle people. After the foreigners left, does that same kind of characteristics stays or stay rather, or you
No,
become? Yeah,
it doesn't. It is not the same. I am not pointing to that thing. I know that the changes have been occurred after colonization, but what I am trying to ask is if we acknowledge what right now and try to say follow or accept it the way it is, then what is the whole point of
we
these
are
things?
not. Wait. We are not accepting. How can we accept? Okay, try and understand something. What I am saying that in order to build something new, you have to learn from the past. Now there was something issue in the past. That's why we got colonized. Try and understand. We lacked something. Obviously, if the culture was so strong or something like that, we wouldn't have been colonized. I'm speaking on behalf of all the colonized nation. Try and understand something. Maybe there was, there was a lacuna in the unity of the people.
right.
They were not strong enough to, resist the foreign culture, all the foreign rule,
Right.
all the foreign businessmen. So how can you go back over there? Obviously, you have to learn. You take something that someone just, someone someday. I think in the last lecture, someone just said that there have been too many religions in India. People were, coming up with new religions because they understood whatever culture, whatever religion, they might be lacking something. They might be lacking something. Quote unquote, don't kill me. Quote unquote. Yeah. Darshana,
I am lost again. Like, what is he trying to convey then?
I think the colonizers just simply sugar coated that they are colonizing us, and we let them take it. We gave them the chance. We said, आओ बेल
yeah,
हमें
okay.
मारो.
We remain the same people. We remain the same people, but we are much resistant. That's it. We are
After being
much,
colonized.
yeah, after being colonized, we are much resistant. And see, he says that you cannot go back to the era before colonization. Okay, so is it possible? So in 1947, our country, uh, our country got independent, and our country got into political colonization. I guess 1757 Battle of Plassey. How people were behaving in 1750, is it possible for the people of 1948 to behave in the same way? What is that history? What is that culture? There are aspects of modernization in the industrial revolutions, First World War, Second World War. They know was the importance of unity. They understood that you need to be, you need to have a national front in order to deal with the foreigners or something like that. Before that, there were Marathas of Maharashtra, there were Nizam of Hyderabad, there was Tipu Sultan of Mysore, and there were people in northern India. So they are always constantly at war with each other. When the Britishers came, they understood we cannot be at war with our neighboring states. Rajputana was there. We cannot be at war. We need to be, culturally assimilated. We need to give up some of our customs, some of our practices in order to imbibe something new, and in order to gain a national culture, that is rather nationalism. Before the Britishers, there was no concept of nationalism over there. Are you getting it what I'm trying to say?
Yes, and what after that?
Huh?
What after that?
After that, you gain international solidarity. You make a place for yourself in the international arena. You need to get recognized that you are an independent nation. You are not under colonization. And you are not the same nation before political colonization. That's what France Fanon says. I'm not saying. Getting it?
I think before being colonized, we also viewed foreigners or Britishers as exotics, and we let them enter because we thought that
Yes.
we could actually
That's a very
expand
good.
as a
Yeah.
community.
So we had this notion that Atithi Deva Bhava, we are being open to new kind of people or something like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
some kind
But
of
I think
historical.
after colonization and understanding the individuality as a nation, now we are more understanding that they are very much the same humans, have the same kind of blood
And
that we
we
have.
rather on behalf of, I guess, we are much more careful. Uh, we need to draw a line or something like that. But nowadays, even we see white skin, we are like, Are gora gora aa gaya, the gora. We have the definition. We have the colonial hangover still over here.
Mhm.
So whatever is approved by the West, we accept it as a standard.
But now, isn't it more of in the comical manner?
Stereotype is there, satire is there. I think it
Hmm.
coexists some way or the other. It
Hmm.
coexists. I
In the
guess so.
beginning, it would more of be like a new uh, species almost of people who are entering our nation. But now it is more of them already existing and we being accepting of the part that these people exist with us, and we have to be cautious yet at the same time interact with them in a very normative manner.
Now, why we are cautious, Darshana? I guess this answer because we learn from history. We cannot trust them blindly. I
It's
hope
just
I'm.
कि थोड़ा
Yeah.
दिमाग आ गया बाद में.
Oh, क्या बात है, Darshan? I was so happy. Long live history. Good, good. Okay.
Does it
And
make sense? Why do we need a theory for it?
okay, sad. You are in the. No, I won't comment. This is getting recorded. Okay. Stop the recording and then. Okay. Already, this is. I have referred to many religion, many things. So, Darshana, don't laugh. Huh? Okay. Okay. Now, I guess so. The importance of language and importance of poetry, importance of visual art, and what happens when you build a national culture, you need international. You need international acceptance. And he, Franz Fanon says, a collective thought, how should I say, to justify the national liberation. So, what is this national culture? He says the national culture in the present context, when the country is politically decolonized. Now, remember, when he is writing uh, for that particular nation, it didn't get political decolonization. Uh, he expired at a very early age. He died in 1965, and in 1966, that nation got political decolonization. So his thought might have changed on national culture. And he says getting liberation is not the ultimate stuff, but it's a continuous struggle towards equality and international solidarity. Okay. How do you explain international solidarity? Anyone? Riddhi, Devanshi, yes, Aisha and Darshana, you're very vocal. Literature students should be very vocal. You're participating. You are throwing challenges to me, to my small this thing. What about Riddhi and Devanshi? Wake up.
Yes, so
Hi, hi. Yeah, yeah. So what about? So what do you think about international solidarity or something like solidarity? Sorry, solidarity. Yeah. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Bus. Chup, 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 chup. Alright, this is an online lecture. Go to your mobile. Check. Smart bano yaar.
nationalism in another words.
National, no, representation, I guess. Representation and how your nation can be benefited at an international level. Or Aisha Stephen, yeah.
मैंने सर्च किया.
Have you drawn this? So this thing. What is this? This is a tiger.
No, it's I didn't draw it. I
Okay.
just found it online. Uh, so I looked up at the definition of international solidarity. It is the expression of a spirit of unity.
Unity at global stage. Yeah. Okay. 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 Do you have any idea what is Brexit?
I've heard of it.
Heard of
Yes,
it.
sir.
Darshana, yes, gone with the wind. Okay. We'll go back to Brexit in the next thing or something like that. It's related to that, obviously. Okay, and okay. So I guess we have come to the end of this particular thing, this book. So this, what is the name of the book? Yeah, many questions came, huh? Yeah. So basically, you know, after political decolonized, what is the next step? Getting national solidarity. And when you get a nation, international solidarity or something like that, means you are being recognized as a nation. You are recognized as a sovereign nation which can look after itself, its people, which can take care of its resources and be plentiful in their resources. And in yeah, and while saying so, he say this continuous struggle of the people to get rid of the oppression and to become sufficient at an international stage, that is national culture. Am I clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Darshana, obviously. Darshana, tell me something.
Sort of.
Okay, sort of. Okay, okay. It's good to be, what is this known as? Confused. Did you read the notes day before, last week I shared?
Just scan a bit.
Don't scan, read. Nah? That's why. Yeah, yeah. Look. Okay, I'm stopping this recording. Huh? Stop recording.